District Attorney Sandra Doorley. My name is Chris Chichester. I have never committed a crime. Madam District Attorney, in courtrooms throughout America, from Montauk Point, the easternmost part of Long Island, to Los Angeles, California, does a prosecutor talk in court? What's the answer to that question? The accused, standing in a courtroom, anywhere in the United States of America, from Montauk, New York, to Los Angeles, California, does a prosecutor talk in court? You know the answer. The answer, party switching fraud, Sandra Doorley, is yes. That doesn't happen in Penfield Town Court. I'm demanding the names of your two assistant district attorneys, first before John P. Lomenzo and next before Paul Lomenzo, who stand there and don't talk, as I'm delivered to Monroe County Jail and next to Livingston County. Todd Baxter, you're going to have to answer for the United States Department of Justice why I was in Livingston County. So I'm going to be in relentless contact with you. What am I doing in Livingston County when I've lived in Monroe County for 9 years? And that's because I would be attacked at Monroe County Jail, because I've already been attacked at Monroe County Jail by one of your fanatics, degenerates, and sociopaths. This is a Freedom of Information law you received on January 9th. And YouTube is a valid way to communicate with elected officials. So I'm using this. And you're also going to be signing for this too, relentlessly. I'll reach a point where we'll be signing for this every day. And not only you, Sandra Doorley, your employees like Perry Duckles and your $100,000 assistant district attorneys there. How do you think that's going to go over? I think it's 14 in district attorney's office. It's not as uncommon to make $100,000, but you never know the reaction of citizens that are struggling, making $40,000, $50,000, and they're going to look at your employees at the district attorney's office making $110,000, $120,000. You never know the political consequences of a salary for a public official. Freedom of Information law. Sandra Doorley. Pay attention now, you pathetic diva. I'm demanding two names in a public proceeding in Penfield Town Court. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chávez for John P. Lomenzo Jr. in Penfield Town Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? Tell me her name. Total silence, not one word, not one sound, not one syllable. Freedom of Information law. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chávez for Paul Lomenzo in Penfield Town Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? Total silence. Not one word, not one sound, not one syllable. And this 5'2", 3-piece suit walks over to Paula Metzler, this bald-headed, wig-wearing fanatic, this hate-consumed parasite, gives her a piece of paper. She looks at it. That delivers me to jail. I don't know what's on the piece of paper. How's that happening in the United States of America to an innocent man? What are their names? You're going to refuse to tell me every single time, despite the fact that this is a public proceeding. And I'm waiting for your psychopaths, you bald-headed, party-switching, degenerate Todd Baxter to arrive and start pounding on my door and screaming my name outside. There's a pounding on my door to be to my left, and that's the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, because they're animals. I do not exaggerate when I call your employees animals. On this email, if you scroll down, if you look at it, I don't know who looks at it, you'll see a YouTube called Hatred, and they arrived when I was on here, and I'm astonished that I'm on here, and they arrived. And they are screaming my name in fanaticism, pounding on the door. So when I call you, you bald-headed criminal, Todd Baxter, an animal, when I call your employees animals, this is why. You show up at the house, an innocent man, pound on his door and scream his name outside. What did you think about the way your employees behaving? Well, I want to know there's one in particular, and I believe there were at least 10 here. My neighbor said he saw at least 10. 10 of you are here from, that's what my neighbor said. I don't know the number, but he told me there were 10. 10 of you are here for me? If you want to know why people hate the police, when your bald head is staring at the TV, and there are citizens throughout the United States of America, party-switching degenerate Todd Baxter, and you're in total confusion as to why Americans hate the police and detest the police, think about your 10 fanatics being outside screaming my name. What's the name of that one psychopath in particular? When you have 10 here, there's a guy in charge. So who is the guy in charge? Bald-headed, degenerate, party-switching criminal Todd Baxter. What's that one guy's name? I'm supposed to go into Penfield Town Court when your employees behave like animals like this? I'd like to know the legality, and I don't know. if the police could show up to any residence in America and behave like that. And I think that would be borderline as far as the police are breaking law. But as I know, you never know what constitutes a crime, because for me, it's a crime to walk through this parking lot. Every day people walk through this parking lot. Every single day, if I walk through this parking lot, I'll be arrested. How does that explain to the United States Department of Justice, Todd Baxter? How do you explain that Shannon Meyer worked with Steve Desmond of Braccola Tree and Lawn Care to get me to come out of the house? I come outside, stand here one day, I tell the guy in his tractor, this toothless loser from Braccola Tree and Lawn Care, nobody owns it, and I walk back in my house. How's that a crime, Todd Baxter? How's that criminal contempt? How's that a crime? You will have to answer this, you bald-headed degenerate. How is it a crime for me to walk outside, stand here, say nobody owns that land, and walk back in my house? Because that's not a crime. But you're going to have to explain why it is and why it gets 6 of your fanatics, degenerates, and sociopaths here after I talk to your $67,000 corrupt, nauseating, sick hack, Shannon Meyer, writing a warrant for my arrest for walking through this parking lot. This is the lunatic fringe, you bald-headed criminal. The lunatic fringe to write a warrant for my arrest for walking through a parking lot I've walked through 4,000 times, but not for my excellent friend, not for the elderly woman across the street, not for Penfield High School students, not for people walking through this parking lot all day long. It's only me, you bald-headed criminal. How is that a crime? I go to the now defunct PW Fitness. I'm at the back of the gym. Up walks to me Jermaine Behrman. I tell him 30 seconds. He stands over me, punches down. My head snaps back violently. He begins to walk away. How to make a decision right away, not to respond, to take him to the ground, go out to the vehicle. Andrew Rowley knows me because it's his parking lot. He marches Jermaine Behrman over to the side of the vehicle. I look to my left. I'm looking at Jermaine Behrman like this, standing right next to $79,000 Andrew Rowley. And Jermaine Behrman says to me, I want to press charges against you. With those 7 words, I'm charged with harassment. Second. Todd Baxter. What's the name of the human being I'm harassing? Who did I harass? Was Jermaine Behrman in the back seat with me, and did I commit an illegal act upon him? Who am I harassing? Do you understand, you bald-headed criminal, what a pathetic joke you are, that Shannon Meyer and Andrew Reale at $67,000 and $79,000 do not understand what constitutes a crime? And you don't understand that because you're the blue wall of Todd Baxter. You will defend your employees even though your employees are criminals and your employees have abridged my civil and constitutional rights. It does not matter to you. I'm 55 years old. I got one speeding ticket in 30 years since I left 101st Airborne Division. I have always understand the separation between legal and illegal, right and wrong, truth and justice. You bald-headed criminal, don't understand the separation between right and wrong, legal and illegal, justice and injustice. You do not understand what constitutes a crime, and how pathetic is that? Your employees do not understand what constitutes a crime, and how pathetic is that? Sandra Doorley, the diva district attorney of hatred. The documentation for the case for Christopher Chichester, John P. Lomenzo Jr. in Penfield Town Court was the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley. What's her name? Perry Duckles, what's her name? Documentation for the case for Christopher Chichester, Paula Metz from Penfield Town Court was the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley. What's her name, Sandra Doorley? Perry Duckles. Excuse me, what's his name, Sandra Doorley? Perry Duckles, what's his name? You refuse to tell me. You know it's a public proceeding. The district attorney of Monroe County has absolute and total contempt for the law. As this YouTube's now at 8 minutes. This delivers me to jail. This document right here. That the defendant, how am I defendant on a piece of paper? The district attorney of hatred, Sandra Doorley. How am I a defendant on a piece of paper? $129,525 Perry Duckles. That the defendant on the above date and location approximately 1440 hours did knowingly enter or remain unlawfully upon the premises of 2041 Penfield Road, Penfield, New York, by walking through the parking lot after being told through certified mail by police he's not on the property. This delivered me to jail right here. When the prosecutor doesn't talk. These parasites, Nayraj and Layla Kumar Shah at 2041 Penfield Road, and walked through the parking lot one day for the 4,000th time. Perry Duckles, Sandra Doorley, Todd Baxter, Shannon Meyer, Don Benedetto. Nayraj Shah is here. He starts to scream at me like a psychopath. I have never in my long life heard a man scream like this guy. And I've been around people that have screamed out of pleasure. At a Mets game at Shea Stadium or a Jets game at Shea Stadium, going all back to the first time I was there in high school. Screaming, people scream at certain points. People scream in fear. People can scream for any number of reasons that are legitimate. This guy is screaming at me inside his vehicle when I'm walking through the parking lot for the 4,000th time. I go up to try to talk to him. He's still screaming at me in his vehicle. So as he's still losing his mind, and that's the appropriate way to describe him, I'm walking away. He's still screaming. So I tell him to fuck off, and I give him the official finger of Brooklyn, New York. And he doesn't tell Shannon Meyer that he's losing his mind, screaming at me. That's in the addendum that this hack wrote. This is what your employee, Todd Baxter, Shannon Meyer, is doing. I'm waiting for him to pound on the door and scream my name like psychopaths. Are you going to be arriving now that you students at 10 minutes? Are you going to be out there screaming my name like a psychopath? Psychopath sheriff of Monroe County who doesn't know if he's a Republican or a Democrat will say anything. So, who am I harassing, Todd Baxter? You will have to answer this to the United States Department of Justice, Todd Baxter. When I call the employees or email or contact, I haven't decided how I'm going to get in contact with them. And I tell them to ask you, you bald-headed criminal, what's the name of the human being Chris Chichester's harassing? Because in order to be charged with harassment, second, there's a victim. There's another human being I'm harassing. Are you following me, you bald-headed criminal? Andrew Reale put the screws to me on purpose, just like Shannon Meyer did. What's the name of the human being on planet Earth I'm harassing, Todd Baxter? That can't be answered, but you're going to have to answer it because your employee wrote harassment second on here. So what's that human being's name? If an employee at the United States Department of Justice calls you, Todd Baxter, and your $132,000 salary, which should be reduced by $132,000, and asks you or one of your employees, who is Chris Chichester harassing? You will have to answer that. How do you answer that question, Todd Baxter? How do you answer who is Chris Chichester harassing? Answer it right now. Tell me. How is it a crime for him to walk outside, stand right here, say nobody owns that land, walk back in my house? Your employees on August 30th hid in the bushes for me to come outside. Then they ran across this Sanders Farm Drive alongside the residence. I see them. I don't know what that is. You're lying in wait for me to concoct another crime because of what I'm doing to you on YouTube. And Don Benedetto was there at his $85,000 salary. Here's Don Benedetto at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, walking onto the private property of my neighbor to hide right next to her bushes near her window. And then as I come out of the residence, Don Benedetto and there were at least two others ran at me. There's two running at me at the time, but there were 5 here total. I run alongside my back porch. I grab a hammer. The hammer I just grabbed goes up. I pull away. I run back into my residence. And Don Benedetto and these other psychopaths concocted a felony for me. I'm running away. He said I swung a hammer on him. Pay attention, Don. I've never swung a hammer at anyone. And a hammer I had in my hand. If I wanted to swing that hammer at you, I would have swung it at you and brought it down on your head on my back porch, and it would have split your head open, and it would have ended your career. If, in fact, that was you. I've never engaged in violence in my life. Never swung a hammer at anybody. These liars at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. One, what are you doing here, Todd Baxter? And two, what are their names? And you refuse to answer because there's no accountability for you, you bald-headed criminal. You do whatever you want. Walking through the parking lot? Is that right? I'm walking through the parking lot. There's my neighbors right here. Shannon Meyer. You paid $67,000. Do you want their address to go arrest my neighbors for walking through the parking lot? How did you get here? For criminal contempt second. Steve Desmond, Brock Hall Tree in Lawn Care, 2959 Brighton Henrietta Town Line, Rochester, New York. You're such a fucking loser that you spend your life cutting grass. I'll break the news to you about grass. When it's cut, wait for it. The grass grows back. You cut it again. Shockingly, grass grows back. Are you following me about your pathetic little job? You're cutting grass alongside my residence, 26 Sanders Farm Drive, that Layla Kumar Shah, Nayra Shah, or Elliot Roth don't own, because each does not possess the required legal documentation to prove ownership of that land. Does that fact register in your bankrupt cranium? You called the Monroe County Sheriff's Office when I came outside for all 30 seconds to tell you toothless fellow loser that Shah and Roth don't own that land. You took your phone out and immediately there were 6 deputy fascist stooges at my house. You used a civilian, you bald-headed criminal Todd Baxter to get to my house, and this is his name. Now, nothing from him. He signed for this too. Registered mail, return, receipt, using a civilian. Bald-headed, wig-wearing Paul Metzer. I sent this to you on December 16th. You received it 12 times now. The name, charge, and sentence of every defendant, Penfield Town Court, John P. Lomenzo Jr., James P. Miller Jr., Paul Metzer, December 16th. I'm supposed to walk into Penfield Town Court and allow you to declare me guilty in a Soviet Union show trial, and you refuse to tell me the names of the defendants, the charge, and the sentence? That's because everybody's guilty. And how is that explained to the employees of the Department of Justice? How is that explained to the employees in the office of Governor Andrew Cuomo? How is that explained to the employees from the Majority Leader Speaker in Albany? It can't be explained. You were drenched in corruption at that vile, sick district attorney's office. You were drenched in corruption at that vile, sick sheriff's office. And Paula Metzler, James P. Milley Jr., and the 70-year-old fossil, John P. Lomenzo Jr., was drenched in corruption as well. I'm just astonished at what I'm surrounded by here in Penfield, New York. A district attorney who doesn't know what constitutes a criminal act because her assistant district attorney doesn't talk in Penfield Town Court. A sheriff who thinks walking outside to tell a guy in his tract that nobody owns that land is a crime. A sheriff who thinks an innocent citizen who's attacked and assaulted at the gym is in the process of engaging in harassment. Secondly, in fact, sitting in the backseat of a sheriff's office vehicle. A corrupt, disgusting hack named Don Benedetto who lies about me swinging a hammer at him on my back porch when he's chasing me back into my residence. I haven't come to my house and demand my little guy. Do you know the telephone exists, Todd Baxter? Do you? Do you know the telephone exists? And the answer is no. You don't know the telephone exists. Because I'm walking my little guy one day. I take him here. I walk behind these trees. You see that distance there? That's 50 to 100 yards. I hear screaming from this repulsive shack, the Shaw Law Firm. I don't know what that is. They're screaming at me. Layla Kumar and Leyraj Shah. This is your fanaticism, Todd Baxter. I'm going to repeat this and hammer it into that diseased, corrupt brain of yours. I can't hear anything. I take my little guy here, walk him down here, go back to my residence. An hour later, there's Baxter Jonestown here. Baxter Jonestown is here demanding my dog. One phone call. There is a vicious confrontation at my door. Your employees are screaming and I'm screaming. And I said, you'll have to kill me to take my little guy. My neighbor, he's also my friend. He's witnessed a lot of what's happened to me, and he witnessed this. And yet again, how do they be? I don't know his exact language. What he communicated to me was, how do these employees at the sheriff's office behave this way? And that's because there are no standards at the sheriff's office, Todd Baxter. You have no standards for morality, no standards for professionalism. You have no standards for how your employees should comport themselves with the highest values and honor and integrity. Because you don't have values, and you don't have honor, and you don't have integrity, Todd Baxter. That's why you show up to the home of an innocent man and demand his dog. You know how I was able to adopt him at Lollipop Farm Humane Society? My ex-girlfriend Laura and I went to Lollipop and lived in Webster. And before we went to the cages, we were interviewed, and it's an extensive interview. And I don't know the level of the background check they did on us, but they had to do something. But we were asked, have you ever been arrested? Have you ever committed a crime? And the answer from Laura Riley and I was no. And then we went to the cages, and he was just sitting right there in his cage. He was looking up at us, and a perfect moment, Laura said, he's looking right at you. And we took him home. And if you own dogs at the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, then you know what every dog owner knows, that you love your dog as much as a family owner. How do you come to my house 4,000 times? Why don't you just pick up the phone? This is why people hate the police. I have never seen hatred for the police in the United States of America in my more than a half a century on earth like there is today. There are movements all across the United States, including in New York, to defund the police, take money away from the police, transfer power away from the police. And I never quite understood that where I worked in Albany and Washington, D.C. It isn't to the point where it is now. But I would hear people talking negatively about the police when I was in Albany, the state troopers in the Capitol where I worked for 7 years, or the Washington, D.C. police. And I really dismissed it because I've never had a problem with the police. And I would think, what's the problem? Now I get it. Now I understand it completely. The police can concoct crimes for innocent citizens, and I'm sitting right here as evidence of it. That the police concoct crimes, as I just explained. Todd Baxter, who am I harassing? You concocted that crime for me. Todd Baxter, how's it a crime to go outside and tell a toothless loser on his tractor nobody owns that land next to my residence? You concocted that crime for me. Todd Baxter, am I committing a felony on my back porch? Don Benedetto, you $85,000 criminal, concocted that charge for me. I have never committed a crime. One speeding ticket In the 30 years since I was only discharged as a 22-year-old Sergeant E5 from 2nd Squad of 17th Cavalry, 101st Airborne Division Air Assault. One speeding ticket, the bald-headed criminal sheriff of Monroe County, party-switching Todd Baxter. And when you're thinking, he needs to be arrested for holding that finger up there, it's called exercising my First Amendment right. This is the delusion. I did that on purpose because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, he needs to be charged for holding that finger up at us. That's exactly what you're thinking at Baxter Jonestown and at Doorley Jonestown. It's exactly what you're thinking. Nobody's innocent at the district attorney's office, right? Nobody's innocent at the sheriff's office, right? Everybody's guilty. Why have I never heard Miranda versus Arizona, Todd Baxter? How do you explain that to the United States Department of Justice? Do you know that the most famous Supreme Court decision of the 20th century, passed in 1966, protects the rights of every single American? I've never heard it. Lee Larocque, you disgusting hack. This is not a search warrant. You, Paula Metzler, as I said now repeatedly, type this document that is not a search warrant in your little library courtroom, gave it to Lee Larocque, and that's how she gets in here. She contacted my landlords. This is not a search warrant. Paul C. Metzler and Lee Larocque. There's no identifying marker on it. It is so obvious that this is not a search warrant. And you exited with my Chromebook because you, Lee Larocque, this is your 1984. This is your repulsive, disgusting existence. To lose 40 pounds, Leah. You're reading my emails and going to the search history on the Chromebook because you, Lee Larocque, took my Chromebook out of my residence. Because you want to read my emails and go to the search history on the Chromebook to concoct the crime for me. How could I not reach that conclusion? It's the conclusion anybody would reach. So, your blue gloves, you left your blue gloves behind. What are you doing in my father's dresser he gave me from when he was a child in Brooklyn? You know, Liam, you need to have sex with a jail. Because you're obviously, with that 40 pounds overweight, you're really lonely. So, you need to talk to Todd Baxter, Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter, have a passion for jails. Because he has a passion for jails, so he's having sex with a jail. So you, Leah, have sex with a jail and join Todd Baxter in having sex with a jail. My name is Christopher Chichester. I have never committed a crime.